Welcome to the third and final part of our class where we bring this painting to completion.
Okay, for these really light green leaves here, I've mixed that green, darker green for the bottom layer of our foreground with some white and yellow. So I'm getting a really light green. And then I'm just going to come in and paint over that red underlayer I have, which kind of helps neutralize the green so it's not, it just feels more real. Might add a little more yellow into spots, a little more white, add some variation in my green there. But I'm not thinking too much about these strokes. I'm just keeping it light and loose and simple. Just adding these touches of green in the middle. Maybe a little bit more yellow right there. We've got some that are flowing across the other leaves. The last thing as far as the flowers are concerned, there's a few spots of this bright fuchsia just popping through in the background. So that's what I'm taking that fluorescent violet and some peach, and I'm just kind of blocking, laying it in just a few spots. And then also along with that, I kind of want to add a little bit of white back to those areas. So I'll take white and add it in to the paint that's not yet dry to just lighten it up a little. So just add some texture, color, interest without being too heavy-handed. Just seeing touches of it. I might come back and drop a really bright, just in a couple spots. Now what I'm gonna do is just clean up some areas around the flowers and add in these little spots of light coming through by using my light blue background color. So I'm coming in and cleaning up and erasing, so to speak. I might even straighten out this line, got a little wonky. So I'm gonna cut into that a little bit and then just come around the edges of my flowers. Clean up the edge of that vase a little bit. Oops. I need to come down a little bit, I think, on this side to even that line out. Bring it around this side. Attracting, simplifying, brightening. I'm gonna free up some breathing room in here a little bit.
Just adding back in these spots of light coming through and keeping my shapes organic. And next we'll pick up a darker blue-gray color on our brush to create the band behind the vase of color.
And I'm gonna quickly block it in and then scrape away to create kind of like a wallpaper pattern. So, and I'm gonna do my best to leave some edge, some breathing room around the vase. It's just like this. And then just doing a little line pattern right here. Adds a little bit of interest, this band of blue. It's subtle, but I like it. Might make it a little more blue on the other side. Leaving that crisp edge there. Sometimes the scraping away of paint just requires playing around with proportions of paint to high flow medium, giving it enough time to dry but not too much. It's kind of one big experiment. So, and if you end up things get too dry, you've waited too long, usually if you go back over whatever you just painted with a little bit of color, a little bit of fresh paint and high flow medium, you'll be able to scrape it back up. Okay, so now I'm carrying this around my edge. So adding those lines on the edge. So I've been playing around with some black and white pieces of collage. This little bit is from a string art kind of instruction manual how to, and this is, I don't even know what this was from, but The Secret of, I just liked the letter forms, and I like that I'm adding in some black and white elements, and I'm kind of just looking at where can I add them in that it won't disrupt kind of my composition too much. Where does it help to have some more open light areas, and where is it okay to have this dark area, and to make it kind of balanced. So I'm not going to go overboard with it. I've got my matte medium, and I'm going to use that to glue down my collage pieces. So I just am using a brush. I'm painting it on to the back of the paper liberally, and then I will stick it down where I want it, and kind of spread. Just make sure that there's no air bubbles. I'm pushing it down to the surface, and I'll let that dry before I put a clear coat on top. So it's on there. And then I'll just go over the top with a clear coat, and then I'll leave it alone, let it dry. I've mixed up a blue-green that's a slight variation, a little bit darker than the my background blue. That's a little too much. Okay, so it's kind of like a gray blue, gray blue green. And I want to just add a little bit more variation to the background. So I am going to come in and just leave that bright blue kind of edge. And I don't want to fill this in too much. I don't want this to be solid. I'm just kind of adding in a little variation to the background and letting those bright blue, that background blue edge show through. So I'm just kind of going around the outer edge of my flowers, filling in. I don't want it to be too solid. I didn't like how my blue striped area was coming right up to the vase. It just felt like an awkward place to have that stripy pattern go up to. I wanted to just come down a little bit so that the line of that is a little below the line of the vase, the top of the vase. And then I'm going to carry that around.
Okay, now I want to take you through some of the decisions I'm going to make here at the very end to just kind of bring this painting to completion. And so right now I'm just looking at the colors and the darks and lights and looking at where I can make a little bit more of an impact. So I'm starting with these kind of mustard yellow blooms in the middle. I wanted them to be a little richer in color, so I added more of the mustard yellow. Next, I picked up some of that peach color and am adding in a few areas, brighter areas of peach throughout. Next, I'll be using a really fine tip Posca pen in white, and I'm kind of just mimicking the outline of some of the blooms, adding in a finer line to add texture and movement. Then I picked up that deep brown and am placing it throughout to add a little more contrast. Now with a lighter green on my brush, I am just adjusting the colors, the green areas of the leaves, lightening it up a bit. Then I decided I wanted a little more contrast in those lines on the vase. I am redoing my vase, so I'm going over it with a warm gray under layer, and then covering, once that's dry, covering it with almost a pure white, which I will then scrape away with my shaper. So I'm much happier with the contrast of these lines. It adds a little more interest. And for one final touch, I'm adding in some neon green lines with my Posca pen to highlight those leaves. So I think that about wraps it up. Thanks so much for joining me.